fantastic day. Now in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the reasons why your Christmas cactus or your Thanksgiving cactus didn't flower for you this year. Now this is my good old faithful Christmas cactus. It's actually officially a Thanksgiving cactus, guys, but I call it a Christmas cactus because it usually flowers for me around the December. But because it's a Schlumbergera truncata, it's actually officially a Thanksgiving cactus. But anyway, whichever one you've got, if you find that it's not flowered for you this year, like this old buck here hasn't for me, then these are the reasons why. Now, my reasons for this, I think the reason why mine hasn't is because it's actually been kept in my warm office this year. Now, I normally keep it, the past 3 years it's been in my office, but normally over night time, the temperatures drop really low, because it's next to a big large window and the temperature drops right down, and the cooler night temperatures encourage the blooming. But this year's been a really strange year. It's been like that for everybody, by the way. And the nighttime temperatures have been so warm, and I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's just like we haven't even had to put the heating on in the office. It's been so warm. And I think that's the reason why it hasn't flowered for me this year. My other ones, I've got another one in the background there, you might see it, and another little one, which is the baby off this one. Just bring you around here to my little baby one. That one. I did a video of this the other day, which you may have seen. And that's the baby. In fact, that's flowered as normal. But the reason why the conservatory is kept at a much cooler temperature, you see. So that does go cool overnight, unlike in the office. So I think that's been the biggest problem for me this year. But anyway, I'm going to tell you 10 reasons why yours may not have flowered for you. And number one is what the same with this one. It's being kept too warm. They do like to have a temperature from the September onwards. These plants like to be kept about 12 to 15 Celsius, which is 55 to about 60 degrees Fahrenheit to produce their buds. So if yours is in a room that is warm, this could be one of the reasons why it's not produced any buds for you. So maybe the following year, make sure you keep it in a cooler place if you can. Number two is that it could be too old. This plant is possibly over 50 years old. It was given to me by my friend who'd had it 25 years. Previous to that, he got it from a lady who also had it 25 years. So that brings it to 50 years. I've had it for 7 years. And it was obviously would have been a few years previous to the other lady having it. So possibly 60 years old, possibly even older. And that could be a reason why it didn't flower this year. But I still think it's more down to it being too warm. Now, the number three is that the soil is exhausted or lack of fertiliser. If yours has been in a pot for many, many years, then it could have exhausted its soil and it needs repotting. Enough to lack of nutrients can prevent it from producing buds. I repot mine every so often, usually every 2 to 3 years, so that's good enough. So just make sure you do that. And I'll put the links down below on how to repot a Christmas cactus. And number four is too much or too little light. If you've got your plant in a very sunny window, this can stress the plant out and stop it from producing buds. And also so can, if you've got it somewhere where it's in a very dark spot, like in the middle of the room, then that can also make the buds not form and also make the leaves drop off. So if you find your plant's dropping a lot of leaves and it's very dark and producing a lot of weak spindly growth, move it to a lighter spot. Again, if it's too much of a bright spot, see here, that's got red leaves. That's because it gets sun in the mornings. Now, that's not a problem on that. But if the whole plant was that colour, the entire plant, then that's getting too much light. So again, move it to a shadier spot. Number five is if it's recently been repotted. Now, I'd recommend repotting these plants in the spring or even in the winter after they've flowered, as long as you keep them sort of fairly dryish. But if you repot it sort of late summer before they're forming their buds, this can also prevent them from forming flowers, because again the energy will be going to the root system instead of going up to form in the buds. So just make sure if you're going to repot your plant, which is important to do every few years, make sure that you do it in the spring or after it's been flowering, maybe late winter. And number six is overpotted. Now, if you've got yours in too big of a pot, this can also be a problem, because I find that these plants do like to be a bit underpotted, because the cramped root system helps to produce buds. Now, remember, these plants naturally grow naturally in their natural habitat in the rainforests. And their roots are used to being cramped up in the trees. They hang off them epiphytically, and they have very little root system to actually hang on to the trees. When you think of it, they take a lot of moisture from the air. So they don't need large pots, and that can actually prevent flowering. So in my experience, keep them a little bit cramped, and I find it's great for encouraging budding. I find that with all the cacti as well, by the way, not just these. Now, number 7 is artificial light. Now, some people keep them in bright offices, or they keep them above a lamp. So now this was in the living room and had a big bright light above it. This can, not always, but it can actually prevent the buds forming, because the plant gets confused and it thinks that it's actually, the days are longer than what they actually are. So if, like in the winter, from September onwards, it gets dark about 5, 6 o'clock, and you'd normally put the light on then it's going to confuse the plant, thinking the days are longer. So what you could do there is, from the time you switch the light on, whether it's 5 or 6 o'clock, you could either throw like a cloth over it. It's not going to harm the plant, but it's going to filter the light. Or you could even put a large cardboard box and just place it over the top when you put the light on, and then when you go to bed at night, just lift it off as normal, and it should get the natural rhythms for it to form flowers again. It's a little tip for you there. Number 8 is overwatering. These plants don't like to be kept bone dry like the desert cacti, especially not during the winter time. But if you overwater them as well, and they're left sitting in soggy water, then that can be just as bad. You know, soggy soil and overwatered plants is a recipe for them not to form buds, and actually would eventually cause root rot and kill the plant. So do not overwater. Same goes for underwatering. These plants don't like to be kept too dry for long either. So if you keep them bone dry, then that's another reason why they could also drop buds as well. That's another thing again against, you know, when they actually start to drop buds. But that again is usually kept from keeping the soil too dry or too wet. Number 9 is dry air and conditioning, etc. Now, these plants, as I mentioned earlier, grow in the natural rainforests, so they're used to a lot of high humidity, unlike other cacti. So if yours is in a centrally heated room, they can take a lot of dry air to a degree. But obviously if it's above a radiator, or you're one of these people who have the house heating on all the time and it's sweltering, this can really stress your plant out. Not only can it dry out the stems, but it will definitely prevent the buds from forming. So if the only place you've got is one room and it's very warm, or it's above a radiator, just make sure that you just mist the plant every few days with rainwater, because this will keep the stems from drying out and also encourage budding as well. Number 10, last but not least, just make sure that it actually is a Christmas cactus or a Thanksgiving cactus, because it's very easy. Some people call all of the cacti, including the Easter cacti, the Rhipsalidopsis, they say, oh, I've got a Christmas cactus. And they seem to all get lumped into the one name, but Easter cacti are completely different. The stems are actually different on them as well. I'm going to do a separate video on Easter cacti next year when it's actually Easter, because it's a different thing altogether. But the care for them is very similar. But of course, you know, if you're wondering why it's not flowering at Christmas time, but you get flowers around Easter time, then you know why, because it wasn't a Christmas cactus or a Thanksgiving cactus to start off with. That's a bit obvious. Now, I'm going to put links down below, guys, because I've done a blog on this on my website, so please check my website out, and I go into a lot more detail about the 10 reasons why your Christmas or Thanksgiving cactus hasn't flowered for you. And I go about that in the blog, so check that out, guys. It's just that if I was to go into too much detail on here, the video will end up being half an hour because I can waffle on. But I just wanted to give you 10 reasons why yours very possibly didn't flower or has never flowered. And take them tips for next year, and hopefully you get some flowers, and hopefully I'll get some flowers on this one next year. It'd be interesting to see. If it doesn't, and it is in a cooler spot, then it's down to just being old, it's retired, it's had a Christmas holiday this year. Anyway, guys, I want to send you loads of love and loads of happiness as always from Ireland, and until the next video,